The latest findings from the U of M Center for Racial Justice finds a majority of Detroiters support some form of reparations.
And joining us this morning is one of the authors, Erykah Benson. Thank you so much for being here with us, Erykah. What inspired you to write the article?
Yes, so in order for us to understand the drive for reparations, we wanted to understand how people understand the past and specifically the legacy of slavery and discrimination in this country. We want to connect that to how people think about the solutions for the future.
So what then were some of the key findings in the report?
Yeah, so one of the key findings is I want to underscore that 63% of the city's residents support reparations in the form of monetary payments. We also find that there is a strong link between people's awareness of racial inequality and support for reparations. When we asked Detroiters, do you feel that the historical impact of slavery and discrimination still impacts Black Americans today, we found that those who agree with the statement are more likely to support reparations.
And looking ahead, what are you hoping to accomplish here? What's your goal with the article?
Yes. So right now what we're looking at is that there's strong support for reparations, but we specifically looked at a specific definition of reparations in the form of monetary payments. But reparations can happen in many different ways, including expungement of criminal records, supporting Black-owned businesses, as well as targeted neighborhood investments for specific aspects that are most useful to Detroiters. So in the future, we're going to be looking at how Detroiters support those different types of reparations as well.
So the findings found most Detroiters are in support of reparations. Are there some opposed to it? And if they're opposed, did they give reasons why?
Yeah, so right now we find that 13% of the city's residents oppose reparations according to our survey definition. However, as I said before, we're going to be exploring whether they oppose reparations or support it based on the other definitions of reparations that we may define. What we do find is also among the people who oppose reparations in our survey definition, that 13%, 41% of those individuals are also supportive of broad racial equity policies, and actually note that that is a high policy priority issue.
Yeah, the numbers are fascinating when you look at them that way and you actually break them down. Do you think, I mean, I know it's hard to tell and hard to predict, but do you think that there will be some sort of reparations granted to folks in the city of Detroit?
Absolutely. It is very hard to tell right now, but what is important to note is that we have a reparations task force, which came through due to an 80% ballot initiative from November 2022. And so I think that there is a lot of room, and as we continue to explore this is something that we're going to be focusing on.
So talking about the exploration of this, you said most people feel monetary reparations are the way to go. Are there any other kind of ways that we could go without money? I mean, sometimes money, you know, sometimes when people get money, it doesn't always help in the way they might think it would.
Yeah.
Are there any other ways you've explored?
Yeah, so it's really interesting that you note that, especially given that reparations can be defined not only in monetary ways, but also in terms of the symbolic healing, and that is related to this really painful history we have in our country related to slavery and discrimination and what's going on today. And so what we're looking at too is things such as attacking the criminal expungement. So we're looking at the legacy of mass incarceration. But when we look at specifically back to monetary payments, it's important to address the racial wealth gap that is still very severe in this country. In fact, the racial wealth gap is actually worse off now than we were in the 1960s. And so when we look at things like home ownership, which is one of the biggest assets you can have in this country, it's really important for us to address this really severe racial equity gap in terms of economic well-being.
All right, so many interesting points, and I know we're just scratching the surface here of a much bigger topic, but Erykah, we appreciate you being here.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
And we should mention that the Reparations Task Force will have its first meeting at 4 p.m. at Irma Henderson Auditorium of City Hall. Public comment will be taken, and CBS News Detroit will be there as well.